Okay, so I just want to update you on this screen here. I've made it a bit bigger so you can see it. I have a local folder called Zoom PedalFun. And when I have a quick look, you can see that it's got a couple of folders. We do ls-r, and it's got some information about some C programs that do some stuff, some derived data. And the derived data, for example, um, push directory B1 on, derived data. This has got the contents of the patch number and what's on a raw vanilla reset B1 on in front of me here. And what I've been doing is working with Manjul in the background. He doesn't want the C++ in his area, and we suggested that we create a separate, or I create a separate GitHub for what I'm doing. So here you see so far I've got this stuff in here, which is just what I'm checking. So for example, now we've got some code B1 on patch get name, and this program basically goes through the standard sysex. If it's a 28, it checks it as the 28 sysex, which is the current sysex, and then it unpacks it and finds the name and returns that. And you need to pass it in a couple of arguments: the patch file name, which in my case would be current patch.bin, and then the patch number. Um, and I'll be adding the other scripts on later. And the other thing I've got so far is the latest, and this will be changing all the time as I find out more of how I unpack the data. So this is where you read in the 7-bit data, and you need to pack it into the 8-bit data, or unpack it, whichever you want to describe it. Oh, I need to do something better here because I haven't checked that I've got 28. I'll change that. So there's another example where I need to change things. Okay. So here I've worked out things like these are a bit wider. These are the sort of things that seem to, let's just redo that. These are the sort of things that seem to be the byte packing. So there's 12 bytes in a value oftentimes, and most time they're sort of partly in one byte and another byte, but every so often they're in their own contained space. I'm still trying to work out the FX ID and the group ID. I know where the bytes are, but I haven't quite understood how to get the numbers in a sensible fashion, but I'm working on that. And the only way I found to get those values is by pulling apart the updater binaries, which is unsatisfactory. There does seem to be a similar file table as on the B1XFour, so maybe I can hack some of what Manjul's done and try and work out how they would be reading it directly from the pedal. Now, this is where the place is. So when you go to the main site, you'll find the PedalFun. So it's a collection of tricks and tips, and I try and give all the people credit. So Barzik did all the initial work, Manjul did some cool stuff. sysex Tones before all these guys was doing cool stuff on the G1on, which is pretty much the B1on. The only difference is he does, or they do stuff in the raw space before you pack it, and that can cause some sort of confusion. It's not wrong, it's just different. I personally wouldn't do it that way, but I can see why you would do it that way. It kind of makes sense. ToneLib is a really good program if if you want to if you just want to use your B1, forget about what I'm doing and get gratuitous stuff out of it. ToneLib is cool. And this is the official Zoom page. And really, I'd really like these guys to Zoom to share the stuff, yeah. And I explain where I'm using the hardware I'm using. If you want to really play along with some of the stuff I'm going to do, some sort of big PC is required. Um, and you need a Windows or a Mac if you're going to use the Zoom software anyway, because it only runs on those. It doesn't run on Linux, I don't think. Although sysex Tones, sorry, ToneLib apparently does. I've not tried it and I should do. I'm using a Raspberry Pi 4. I'm using it right now to do the recording. It's a cheap device. It's cool. Almost anyone can buy them. You don't have to buy the 8 GB one. It's fun, but the basic one's about $35 or £35, which is vaguely affordable for most people. And if it's not, I'm really sorry for you, and I hope the world looks after you and finds a way to get you more money. Um, I'm using mostly Bash script because I'll teach you Bash script programming. It's worth learning anyway. And for reverse engineering, I use a combination of Python with the Wireshark. And I'm using C++ at the moment because it's fun and quick and I like C++. When I want to use controller, we have to use Lua. I like Lua, it's good. And what are we trying to do here? We're trying to find useful tricks and tips for fellow musicians to use these pedals. I mean, I do get a chance to play with this thing quite regularly. I plug it in with my basses, It sounds fantastic. Really great in the ears. Yeah, I can't wait until lockdown's finished and we can actually play live again. I don't know how it's going to sound on a live PA, but I bloody hope it sounds good because in the cans it sounds fantastic. Um, and I can't take any help if you break your pedal. I'm sorry about that. I can't take any responsibility for that. Um, they're such good value for money. They're pretty cheap. Um, as I said, it's not a competition, it's a collaborative effort. So we're working together on this stuff, yeah. It's just separating it to make easier. And here's the stuff that I just updated. So the C++ programs and makefile and some of the derived data. And as I get more data, I'll put it in. If you want to raise issues or send me questions, go here and add stuff. Eventually, we'll find a way you can email me. The main contribution I wanted to do on this work is to put a wiki in. So at the wiki, I've said, hey, here's the PedalFun stuff, yeah, and this is what I like doing. And I'd say that I've done a lot of work on the Miniac in the past. So I have some experience of pulling things apart when the companies don't want to tell you what's going on. Um, Dave Smith in the late 70s, early 80s, he mandated that sysex should be given out for free by the companies. You shouldn't have to do what we're doing here, yeah. So Zoom, please get the hint. Um, and I had a whole B1 pedal, so I've bought quite a lot of Zoom products. It's not like I'm not giving them some finance here. I don't want to make money out of this. I just want to use it. As I get older, I really can't see that well, the little display. I can't reach down. If I have on a huge touchscreen, I can just push a button like a McDonald's ordering a set of fries with that, yeah? So that's the aim. Um, and I'm starting to document it. I mean, I started off with the B1X and the G1XFour, rather, both of those. That's when I found out from Manjul. They're pretty much the same pedal. So I got a spare. Then I managed to get this B1 on because it has this particle reverb and it's a different format, so you can't just load it into one of these more modern pedals, and it just sounds fantastic. It's a poor man's Strymon without having to spend that sort of bucks. Yeah, I've even got just in front of me here one of these. What is it? The Secret Path pedals, Black Country Customs. I love that pedal, but I actually almost think the Zoom is more usable and it didn't cost anywhere near as much, yeah. So I think Zoom have got great products here. I just wish they'd open it. Again, I put the different people that I've found. This is an interesting. This Japanese guy's done super cool stuff, yeah. Um, and sysex, Ginonis and 6.8 did stuff, and I'm just gradually comparing what they've done and perturbing a little bit from their pedal to my pedals. Um, and again, I explain why I think you should have the Pi, what I expect to get out of this. So just to show you a bit more, oops, that's gone a bit huge. Hang on. Ah, I don't like it when the mouse goes crazy. I bought a new mouse because my old one was crazy, but this is still crazy. So this is what I'm merging in. So you see, you have a lot of content here, and I'm checking stuff and whatever. So for example, in this FXTOC, you see I've got lots of dumps I've made of the binaries, the sort of values coming out. So here, this is normally some sort of folder ID. So you see, it looks like the dynamics has got the value 1, the filter's got the value 2, overdrive hex 14, 16, 5, and then you see these things. So 5 times 2 is 10, 10 is A, 6 times 2 is 12, 12 is C, 7 times 2 is 14, 14 is E, 8 times 2 is 16, 16 is 10. But then this one here, 28 is two 14s. So two twos is 4, two ones is 2. So there's some crazy things going on with the way the packing goes. And what I'm trying to do is to compare the bytes. So these are the sort of numbers I'm getting out that the opcomp has got a number 61. The 1 means that it's on. Okay, so 60 is the base code, 30 is the base code there, 40 is that. With the Zoom B1X, you can find it in the catalogs. So Manjul finds that, and other people find it, and I'll be merging that information onto my pages because I found a different way of getting to it. I haven't found the equivalent way of getting it on this pedal, but at the moment, I would be happy to just get these values, which are fairly static, and use those to be able to set the pedal up. Um, if you use the tone lib, that must be doing something similar because I don't see how the program works out the current state of the pedal. But if you look, let me just find another one. Hang on, star. Sorry, I'm rambling now. I don't mean to do that, but anyway, if we look at exercise, and what I'll be doing on the wiki is creating pages for how I did this, what it means. So if you just want to get the raw data, I'm putting it here somewhere. So the raw data, I should show you this page now. So I can be in summary. Let me show the summary. I'm doing this stuff here, yeah. So this tells you if you want to find the identity, you send that string, you get this crap back on a B1 on. If you want to turn the editor on, you do that. If you want to put the editor off, you do that. Blah, 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 blah. And what I found for the tuner, you have to send this string and turn the editor mode on. For the tuner off, that and turn it off, yeah. So that would mean that you send this B04A and then you send that command, yeah. So, and sometimes I tell you what it returns. And I'm gradually filling these in. For example, the FXM raised the ID. Well, let's take an example here. This one here, you see what we do here, and you see I'll be putting these programs into the space as well so you can use them. So what I do is I try and use English sentences, it's my native language, and it just makes it easier to see what's going on. I can write programming language, I'm quite an accomplished programmer, but I'm trying to make this easy for people, yeah? So we turn the editor on, we send parameter 1, slot 1, parameter 1 to 0, 2 to 0, 3 to 0, 4 to 0, etc. And then we create a summary file. And here I'd already got to look at parameters 1, 2, 3. So I start at 4. And then I exercise the fx, which means that I want to start fx1. And then I go through and change the fx value 1 to 10. And what I do is I unpack with this program, which is continually improving, yeah? So always try and rebuild that. And then this gets me a feedback loop, and this is where I write the value out into the file. So then I can see what's changed, and then at the end, I look at this command collates the changes. And for example, summary, what are we looking for? Summary 1.text. So at the end, I think we get this table. So what this says is that the fx has got the value 30. This is something to do with the group ID, the 4 and therefore 2, because we divide by 2. And this is the parameter changing. And here we saw in another video, this is 0, 4, 8, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, whatever. You get the idea. And so what I know is that this number 30, for whatever reason, is that comp. Now, what I was doing today, and I'll write it up later, is I found a way that I can inject into here. And it seems to do double the value. So I'll be playing with that to see whether I can get it to do what I want. And that will be quite good fun, I think. So that's what I'll be doing next. But what I'm doing is gradually merging these things across from here to my local staging here. And then I git pull and git push them up to here. I'll be putting the summaries into this sort of place so you don't have to read through all these boring details. Then, for example, this is how I explain I do the probing. So the probing, I want to look at in pissy mode, what sort of value can I send? And what I find is that 1 does something, 4 does something, 5 does something, 7, E, 16, this is hex, 29. So 29 gets you the current patch and returns a 28. 33 gets you the current bank number. And gradually we work out what these things mean. And then here we say there's two ways to get a patch. You can get the current patch where it reads where you are, and that returns the 28 because I just told you get current patch is 29. And if you send n plus 1, you tend to get n back. So 29 becomes 28 in hex. And then this one is sending a 9, and you get an 8 back. And it's almost exactly the same, but there's a few more bytes here. I don't know what that means. It's a 70 of some description. And there's a few more bytes just here, which could be some sort of checksum. I don't know. It'd be bloody lovely if it was something to do with the FX or whatever. But I can already tell from this that this is basically an empty FX, yeah. So that's what I'm doing. Trying to make it accessible, trying to work with the guys on the internet and put it in one place. And I'll be doing a similar thing for the B1XFour and the G1XFour, and then I'll be working on putting code into this along the lines of in the different directories, there'll be a G1 or a B1XFour. I guess I'll do a single one. And I'll also be putting things like the controller scripts in there, so you can use the controller to control these things remotely. So that's what I'm up to. And thank you for listening. And as ever, have fun, stay safe. Bye. Ooh, doesn't want to stop.